Hi everybody, it's Joni Young here. Welcome back for another painting tutorial in acrylics. Today I'm bringing another one to you from a photo sent in by one of my Patreon members, Kim. You'll have access to the original reference photo on Patreon. It's free, and I'm going to show you guys step by step today how to paint this beautiful sunset over the lake. And we're going to go ahead and get started by just going over all the supplies I'm using today. Right off the bat, I want to mention if you don't have all the colors and brushes and canvas I'm using, feel free to use whatever you have or whatever you prefer. I will have a full list of everything below this video in the description box, as well as links to my Patreon, Instagram, my other YouTube channel. I have a watercolor channel, and my website. So we're going to go over the colors first. Here I've got some cadmium yellow light. I've got a luminous orange, a luminous violet, a phthalo blue, and Mars black. I will be adding a little bit of titanium white as well. And the brushes I'm using today are a 1-inch mop brush, a 14 filbert, a 20 flat, and a 30 filbert. I've got an 11 by 14 double primed and stretched canvas. So if you guys are ready to paint along, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is just spray my canvas down with a little bit of water. So the first colors I'm going to take are yellow and white. We've got a bright sunny, the sun setting right in this middle area here. So this is going to be the focal point, the center of interest. And I'm just going to start with a little bit of white. I want to show you how much paint I have on my brush. Okay, so just a little bit of yellow and more white. We can always add more yellow if we want. And I'm just going to start by going over the center here. And we're going to bring some down below as well. Now you can see how it's lighter in the water and more saturated on the top. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit more yellow down here on the bottom. I'm going to take a little bit of white now, and I'm going to add it in this area here, making it really bright, and then same thing down below. Now the next color I'm going to take right away without rinsing my brush out is my orange. Got a beautiful luminous orange. I'm going to add a little bit of white, and I'm going to mix it around and partially over the yellow. So we're concentrating on this area here. So picture this being an oval, right? And we're just going to go around that oval and partially over top of part of the yellow. Take a little bit more. Just going to add a little bit more water to the canvas, and I'm going to spread this out now all the way to the end. Take a little bit more. And we're going to bring that right through. Now, a little bit of yellow and a little bit of orange. We're going to intensify this and add a little bit more saturation, a little bit here and there. We can always tone this down with some white if we need to. So I'm going to take a little bit of, because I want to tone this, I want to get it just right. I want it to be a nice, soft, sort of apricot shade. Just a little bit of white and a little bit more orange in there. Okay, so I've got a clean brush. to start coming in with some blue and some white. So I'll take a little bit goes a long way with phthalo blue. It's such a strong color. So we'll take more white than blue, and we're gonna just start on the very top of the canvas, pulling back and forth. A little bit more white now, and because it's really warm in my studio, I'm gonna add a little bit of water again to my canvas. I'm going to come down below and add some here as well. And we're going to start coming in and adding a little bit of orange in with our blue and our white. It's really important to have that white in there so that we get a nice muted soft gray. And we're going to start up here just with the end of our brush, just right here, just light little sweeps, and then have it a little thicker on the top left. And see how already we're creating the sunset by adding these muted clouds. We're making our own shade of gray with the blue, the orange, and the yellow. We're going to come in here, tap and dab around, leaving some spaces. And we'll come down and do the same thing on the bottom. We'll just mix up some more paint here. Let's come down here and add a little bit for reflection in the water. And you don't have to have your placement in your clouds exactly like mine or exactly where they are. This is just a guide. The idea is just to have some of these in the water and up in the sky. Yours will look just fine even if it's not exactly the same. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more in here, and then I'm going to rinse my brush out. So I've got my 14 filbert brush now. I'm going to get it just a little bit wet, and I'm going to take a little bit of blue and violet. A little bit more. And just a little bit more. I really want to warm this up. And some white. And then when you get it mixed, just kind of push like this lightly to get it loaded on the end of your brush, loaded with it. And we're going to start to add this over top of that light gray. Use a little bit more water. And then just add these little free-flowing ones that are separate from this main one here. And then I'm going to come in and add a pull here, pull from off the edge, pull, and then let off. I'm going to take a little bit more white in here. So adding a little bit of a lighter shade. here and there can really add more depth to your clouds. And then we're going to move on over here. So wherever you have a little bit of that gray, you're just going to graze over lightly. You shouldn't have to push too hard. If you do, you might not have enough water or paint in your brush. I'm just going to come right underneath here. Now this light gray area here, we're actually going to be making lighter with bright, soft peachy yellow. So leave that. And then we're going to come down, mix up this color again. Less white this time, so we've got more of a strong saturation. And then we're going to come down and just lightly go over this, making it a little bit darker. I'm going to come under here. Under the brightest part of our sun. And we're going to bring in a few lines. Stick a little bit more violet and a little bit of white. And the reason why I want to do this is because the blue over top of the yellow is starting to interfere and make green, or make it appear green. So I want to stop that from happening and make sure that it is a purpley blue. So the white really helps, along with that violet. Okay, now we're going to come down. I'm just going to mix up a little bit more paint here, and we're going to add some below. We're going to come down here about 1/4 of the way up the canvas. Take a little bit more water again, a little bit of white, mix, and then load the end of my brush. Pull some lines thicker on the edge here, and then it gradually gets thinner, so more pressure to make it fuller, and then to make it thinner, let off on the pressure. I'm going to take a little bit more violet now and white. Add a little bit of this over top. From the bottom. Here, leave this section blue. A little bit more white. And a little bit more white again. I'm going to add a little bit of warmth here before we start coming in with our bright, bright highlights. A little bit in there. And now a little bit more strength. I'm going to come underneath here. Actually, I'm going to completely rinse my brush out, and I'm going to show you how to glaze. So I'll just soften that. I've got a clean brush. It's a little bit damp, and we're just going to apply like a light filter over here. So very small amount of sort of watered down violet. that's too much water. If you see it running down like that, way too much. And let's add some down here. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush out, and I'm going to take a little bit of orange now and white. Clean brush. We're going to apply this over. And a little more white, touch of yellow, and let's just make a really pretty, soft, glowing shade of peach. We're going to catch the right side of the clouds inside of this one. So I'm going to warm this up a little bit more. A little bit more of the orange. And then we're going to really intensify right in here. So more orange. You don't have to rinse your brush out, just pick up some more orange. So all these colors work really well together. That's why this paint really spoke to me, or her photo, Kim's photo really spoke to me, because first of all, I love sunsets and sunrises, and just the colors in here, the play on just that light powdery blue with all of the purple and lavender shades. I knew when I saw the photo I had to paint it, and I've got some really beautiful photos sent in by you guys, so I want to thank you. I'm really excited to tackle those and offer some different tutorials, so stay tuned for those. They're coming up here. So now bright white, and I'm going to rinse my brush off. Get rid of that little chunk of paint. Now this area right in here, I just want to add a little bit more of the blue over top, because in Kim's photo it's very blue, and well, that's what it looks like to me on my device. So I want to intensify that and a little bit more right in here. And then this in the sky is more intensified, but not as blue, and it's got a little bit more violet in there. Okay, still want to add a little bit of a grayish tone to the clouds here. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of blue, violet, white, and orange again. And in here, I'm gonna, just so this really makes the sun stand out, we need a little bit more play on light and shadows. So notice how I'm just using the end of my brush here And this will help me make narrower clouds and have more control over the size of clouds that I want to add. And then we've got a few just little tiny clouds here. Okay, so now we're going to come in with our black, and I'm going to be using my flat brush. I'm going to get it wet, and I'm going to take black and the rest of this violet, and we'll just make a nice dark color. You can use straight black if you want, but I always think it's more exciting to tint your black with another color. And so it's going to start in this area here, the horizon line. So we're just going to come in the middle of that blue, gently pull and sweep, and we'll just go all the way across. And then it's going to be thicker here. But what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of water on my brush, a little bit of that extra violet. You need the water in your brush so that we can properly apply this brush technique. So we're going to press lightly with the end of our brush on this black line, and we're going to pull up. It's going to be a little bit higher on this side, and then it's going to get a little bit lower. You can kind of go up and down with it. Take a little bit more paint, and then it's a lot lower on this side. So the trees and all the bushes, forest, I guess, is coming closer to us here, and it's bigger, taller, fuller. Then with a little bit more water and those colors, I'm going to pull down and flick. There's lots of reflections in the water, lots of little lines, and then it's going to get narrower and narrower. A little bit more water to help that paint come out of your brush, so you get, this is what we're after, those little skinny feathered looking lines. And then less and less and less. Okay, now we're going to go across this way and add a little bit. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the white and tap and dab, dab, dab. Because there's little hints of, I think it's lily pads. So we can even just tap like this using the full width of the brush at times, and then just a corner. This will give us just enough texture, and then there's a few here. Remember, you're not trying to paint all the details. You're painting a suggestion. It's just enough to know that they're there. And then back here, we're just going to see a few little light bluish gray lines. Now you can use a blue if you want. You can mix the blue up with a little bit of violet if you want, or you can just use a little bit of white in here mixed with the black and the violet. I think this works well. So if you want it to look a little bit raised and textured, then just push and tap a little bit harder. And just a little bit right there. So I'm going to take this brush again, a little bit of paint, and I want to just pull up a little bit more. Now these could be, it's really in silhouette, these lines here, so I actually can't tell if they're reeds from the water or if they're like tree trunks and branches, but that's what I see in the photo, so that's what I'm painting. I think it might be a mixture of both, what we're seeing. So I'm going to switch over to our mop brush now, and I'm going to tap in a little bit more poofy looking trees back there. So no water on the mop. We're just going to load our brush by tapping into the black, a little bit of red, maybe a little bit of orange if you have it left. I'm going to stay away from the yellow though, because black and yellow will make green. And I'm going to tap, get a little bit more in here. Tap, tap, tap. And it's very, very dark on this side. Darkest area is right in here, so I'm going to tap over and a little bit more black right there. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and start adding a little bit more in the sky. I'll be using my flat brush for this. Just add a little bit more orange here. I'm going to take some white, a little bit of orange, a little bit of yellow. I'm going to add a little bit up in here. Some more white over top of here. I'm not over mixing anything. I'm not going over too many times with my brush. Just going to make it as natural as possible by not overworking it. And we're going to kind of tap and dab around here. Pick up a little bit more orange. Make this a little bit brighter in here. Look at this painting coming to life. I can't believe what amazing photographers you guys are. I'm jealous, really. I feel like I can paint better than I can take photographs. So just coming around with a little bit more highlights here, alternating with the yellow, the orange, yellow and orange. Emphasizing on the orange over here with the white. What the white does with this particular shade of orange, and if you guys are curious, because this is a really special orange, I haven't found anything else like it. This is by Holbein, and it's from the Luminous series, so it's Luminous Orange. And these are all transparent paints. They're great for filtering or glazing, but they make really beautiful shades when you mix them with white. So I really love working with them, and it almost gives it a hint of pink. I think because it's such a cool shade of orange, temperature-wise. A little bit of yellow in there. Okay, I'm going to bring back some more purpley blue. I'm going to reapply my Luminous Violet and my Phthalo blue, white, mix them up. Now you're going to want to use more violet than blue because Phthalo blue is so powerful. It's kind of like black. It overpowers all the other colors. And I'm going to come back in here, push, let off, and then right in here, we're going to come in and add a little bit more Now all the colors that we applied underneath the trees here are still there, and they actually make a big difference in building out the layers to this rich color. If you really look, you can see so many different shades in there. It doesn't look just, you know, straight black. There's a lot of intensity going on there that helps to build. So layers are really important. So Kim and the rest of you that send me photos and that I choose to paint from are going to receive the original paintings as well as a thank you from me. It's something I like to offer once in a while on Patreon, and I started this, I want to say it's probably like 4 years ago. I thought it was just a couple years ago, but it was more than that, and the response was amazing, and I really liked it because it gave me a chance to show my appreciation for you guys and paint some different subjects. Add a few more little strips in here. And even though I'm working from a photograph, I'm straying away from exactly where all of the trees, the clouds, the reflections are. This is my artist's interpretation of what I'm seeing. So that's a thing that's also really fun and interesting when you work from a photograph. Your mind, your brain will interpret it the way you see it, and it's different for everybody. So it's a really cool thing. And if you guys want to see what I do, I'm just adding a little bit more of the violet in here. If you would like to see my interpretation from one of your photos, you're going to want to become a Patreon member if you're not already. And if you are, you want to send me your photos in highest resolution. And they've got to be really good photos because you guys have some stiff competition out there. I can't paint every single Patreon member's photos. So if you want more of a chance for me to pick yours, I'm just intensifying the black over here. Send me the best photos that you've got. Take your time to take some really good ones. I like a lot of light and shadow. I do love color, but I also really love black and whites, but you guys know that. And I'm going to come in with a little bit more golden yellow now. And I'm going to apply it right in here. Don't want to get too close to that purple and blue. Just a tiny, tiny bit more of that orange. I'm gonna make a little bit of grayish here by mixing the blue with the orange and white again. And to make your sun brighter, if you're finding like you just don't have that pop of a bright sun, intensify your clouds a little bit more. Add a little bit more gray in there, a little bit in here. I'm going to pick up just a little bit of blue and white, and add a little bit of light hitting these water lilies. Now this wasn't planned, and I tend to do this sometimes in my paintings, but I really am being called to pull out my luminous opera or neon pink. It's just something about this area here that really needs a thin layer. Sweep that over. Now we're getting it. There, I think that's what was missing for me personally, but it could be different for you all. Maybe you want to use a little bit of red or just keep it orange. It's completely up to you. You can easily tone that again with a little bit of yellow if you want, and just run right over that, go right over the pink. So now we have violet, pink, orange, yellow. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial today and that you learned a lot of great tips and color mixing, light and shadow, all those things. Have fun making your own sunset. And thanks for becoming a Patreon member. There's so much over on Patreon for you all. You can connect with me one-on-one there, and I do critiquing. So I accept one image a month to critique. If you're not sure about how to do that, message me on Patreon. I want to recommend you get the Patreon app. That way you have full access to everything. It's way easier to navigate when you have the Patreon app. So everything will be down below this video in the description. Thanks everybody. Take care. I wish you all the best. I'll see you soon. Bye.